What was the date when the son was dropped off?
That was August 8th of 1978. And so the medical examiner's, initial estimate that the remains had been there perhaps as much as 6 to 12 months. We believe now it was more like closer to three and a half months. And his age estimate with 19 to 27, she was 28, so it was definitely on the upper end of that range.
Can you talk about the circumstances where, I think you mentioned that you interviewed a person who found the body? Was she walking, was she hiking, why was she in the area, that kind of thing?
Detective White, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. There's been some contradiction over who found the body in 1970 between newspaper articles and different statements, but we did speak to a party who was a child at the time and said that she was involved in the finding the remains with a group of kids playing in the area that the remains were found in.
Thank you. What about that DNA evidence? When did you guys send that DNA? I think was it Orthron?
Yes,
Othram.
Yep.
Othram. Okay.
Othram.
When did you guys send that, and why were you prompted?
Yeah, so it was March of last year, 2022. Just given the passage of time, one of the hurdles we encountered was that even DNA degrades over time, and it's hard to find a suitable, complete profile. And just the extraction of a viable profile is difficult under the best circumstances, but Othram, through their technology, which I don't pretend to understand, they were able to take the portion of the remains that we shipped to them, frankly, and they were able to apply their technology to get a good DNA sample from that. So this is just technology that wasn't available for decades.
And just to confirm, when they exactly find that DNA, then they look through a database on Ancestry.com, you said?
Yes, my understanding is Othram, I'm not sure if they have partnerships or agreements with certain databases out there that people voluntarily contribute to. And I believe that Ancestry.com, folks who submit to that are agreeing to some degree to have their profiles cross-checked. So really, honestly, if the family hadn't decided to participate in that, I'm not sure where this investigation would be, but the stars just finally seem to align and come together.
Might be a better question for Chief or a detective. Why was this case important to you guys? I mean, it happened so long ago, but I know that we knew it as the Granby girl case because we didn't know the identification. Why was it important to your?
I think any case is very important, and an unresolved case, we have several unresolved cases that, some are a higher priority than others. Obviously, a homicide is a very important case, and both my detectives always have cold cases sitting on their desk or unresolved cases that they kind of just flip through, and we just keep trying to see if there's anything we've missed over the years. Again, as technology changed with DNA, so did how police reports are written, and we're flipping through hand notes and handwritten reports and just trying to see if anybody missed anything, and if one officer doesn't see anything, we pass it to another one just to see if there's more we can follow up on.
If I can just add to that, Chief, as law enforcement and as prosecutors, there's just this inherent sense, this desire to solve the case. It's wanting to find out what happened, but from a human perspective, we know that this was a young lady, and that we didn't know at the time, but she had family. We didn't know whether she had children, but she did. And we suspected that there may be people out there with lingering questions. One of the folks who's here with us this morning from our office is the chief of our Victim Witness Advocate Unit, Jackie Gaw, and working with Jackie over the years on the human element of these cases. It's more than just wanting to solve the case. It's about wanting to bring some closure, some justice, not complete closure yet, but and then getting to meet Matthew and his family this morning, and Lisa, it really brings us back to why we've been doing what we've been doing, why we've been working on this case for so many years, and why we haven't let it go, because it just gnaws at you. And I'm glad we're here where we are today, but we realize that we're not done yet, and that there's more to go.
I understand that you said that it's harder to extract DNA after it's been a very long time. Is there any possible way, do you know, of finding the potential DNA of whoever committed the homicide, or is that essentially impossible by this point?
Well, As I said, in previous years, we took a look at some of the clothing that was associated with Patricia's remains. There were some other biological specimens located, some hairs, for example, that are currently being analyzed for potential DNA purposes. The mere fact that someone's hair may have been on her clothing would not necessarily mean that that person did or didn't kill her, but those are some potential avenues that we're still exploring. I'd say it's probably an uphill battle at this point, but again, we're overturning every stone on this case.
You said you need the public's help. Can you just reiterate kind of what specifically you want the public's help for with leads in this case?
Sure. At this point, until a couple of months ago, we didn't even know who Patricia was. And in any investigation, knowing who the person who lost their life was, knowing who was in their circle, who was in their lives, that more often than not leads you to the person who had something to do with their death, or at least who knows something about their death. So anybody who knew Patricia even earlier in her life, or specifically around the time she was married to Gerald Coleman, anybody who knew Gerald Coleman either before, during, or after the time he was with Patricia, anybody who may have been a neighbor, an associate, a prison cellmate even. If Mr. Coleman or any other suspect or person of interest may have even let something slip once about Patricia, those dots may not have been connected until people now know who we're dealing with. So it could be something seemingly slight or insignificant, but to us it might really mean something. And specifically, Laura Holmes. Laura Holmes is a critical link in this case. She's one of the last people that we can tell to have seen Patricia alive, and the circumstances very near in time to when she went missing. Again, we've tried to track her down so far, no luck. We don't know if she's in the area, we don't know if she's deceased, but any family members she may have had, even they might have some information. So again, it's Patricia Coleman, it's Laura Holmes, Gerald Coleman, anybody who knows anything about them. Even if you were just neighbors, classmates at some point, please give us a call.
Laura Holmes was where the map in the News 5 was dropped off, correct?
Yes.
Now, what relation do we know did she have to Patricia? Was she family? Was she a hired babysitter?
Captain, can you address that?
It's a little, it's a little unclear. What it seems a casual acquaintance would probably be the broadest category. It doesn't seem like a close friend or anything like that. But again, we don't have a whole lot of information about that, so that's a thing that we're trying to find out.
And what, I'm sorry, where did she live? Where did Laura Holmes live?
Was that 8 Taylor Street?
8 Taylor Street in Chicopee.
Yep.
Did you say she made a report after Patricia did not return?
Yes, she was expecting Patricia and or Gerald to be back within a couple of hours. And I believe after roughly 48 hours, after about 2 days went by, Ms. Holmes realized that something had gone askew and she contacted the authorities, and then DCF got involved at that point.
So did that not make Patricia a missing person? No.
I believe it would have. I'm not sure. As I said, we checked the databases. There was no official report, as far as we can tell, that she was ever reported missing by anyone locally. My understanding is that when some additional time went by, Patricia's parents, who lived in the New Jersey area, reached out to authorities. We're trying to track down some old records on that front. So eventually, obviously, her family, her parents realized that they weren't hearing from her anymore, but locally, we can't find any reports of her going missing or having been reported missing. And one might expect that your own spouse would report you missing.